Born on July 15, 1939 in Los Angeles, Pat Casey would become known as the king of the powerlifters. As an undersized teenager, Casey started to train at home with a 110-pound weight set. But in 1943, he discovered George Redpath's legendary gym near Inglewood on the corner of West Manchester Avenue and Southwestern Avenue. Finding Redpath and his training facility was a fortunate discovery because the allure of physical culture and the images of the powerful gym rats performing feats of strength pulled Casey away from his involvement with petty crime. Redpath was a colorful character who has been described as a muscular vaudevillian acrobat. Redpath's gym would lay a deep physical cultural foundation in the Southland, and under his tutelage, Casey developed quickly. In a true jailhouse strong style of training, Casey mimicked what he saw at Redpath's facility and focused on simple barbell lifts and basic movements. Famously, he also ate large volumes of food. For instance, Casey drank 4 to 6 quarts of milk on a daily basis, and he would often take a brief respite from his lengthy training sessions to eat a meatloaf sandwich covered in mayonnaise before returning to his workout. This program worked for Casey. He placed 5th at the Teen Mr. America bodybuilding event, and at 17, Casey joined the 400-pound bench press club. Mind you, this was a time when maybe a dozen men in the world were hitting that mark. In 1958, the legendary bodybuilder Bill Pearl bought Redpath's gym, and Pearl provided more guidance in shaping Casey's growing physique. Alongside Casey, there are many legends of the iron game training at Pearl's facility, including the shot putter Dallas Long and the man of mystery Chuck Ahrens, who we featured in an earlier Jailhouse Strong video. Unsurprisingly, Pearl remembers the massive weight hoisted by Casey. This includes the 225-pound dumbbells, which were designated as Pat's weights. As Pearl says, nobody touched Pat's weights. More than simply his physical strength, it was Casey's incredible mental fortitude that Pearl remembers. This internal resilience aided Casey in his legendary marathon workout sessions. For instance, he once performed 8 hours of dips. 8 hours. Beyond that, Casey also had a certain strength of the will. Pearl explains that Pat would make up his mind that he was going to lift a certain amount of weight in a certain way and in a certain time, and I never saw him fail. This intentional focus served Casey in 1967 when he became the first man to officially bench press over 600 pounds with a lift of 615. The same determination served Pat in many stressful situations. For instance, Pat used to train alone in a tiny 10 by 10 shed behind his house that had no electricity and required light from a lone candle. One night, while bench pressing 550 pounds without a spotter, a strong wind came through and blew out the candle. Alone and in the dark, the bar dropped on Pat's neck. He tried to dump the weight, but the narrow walls blocked the plates from sliding off. With a miraculous degree of focus, somehow Pat found his way from out under the weight. Although he is known primarily as a bench presser, many forget that Pat was also the first man to break the 800-pound barrier in the squat and the 2,200-pound mark in the total. Of course, this was all done without the extravagant powerlifting equipment of today. In addition, he could perform strongman-type feats like a neck bridge pullover and press with 405 pounds. After retiring from powerlifting, Pat served his community as a police officer in Seal Beach and later in Huntington Beach, after which he spent time as a private investigator. To get a sense of Pat's training, here is a typical workout week as Casey described it to Bruce Wilhelm. On Monday, he would start with bench press lockouts, singles from 4 inches off the chest, then 3 singles from 7 inches off the chest. After the lockouts, he would move on to 2 sets of regular bench with 405 for a triple. Then on to dumbbell incline press, 3 sets of 5 reps as a warm-up, 120 for 10, 200 for 3 sets of 5 reps. His best in this lift, as he reminded Wilhelm, was 220 pounds for 6 at 285-pound body weight. Line tricep extensions would be 5 to 6 sets of 3 to 5 reps, chin-ups for 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps, and curls for 3 sets, 5 reps at 100 pounds. On Tuesday, Pat would start with squats, 135 for 5, 225 for a triple, 315 for a double, 405 for a double, 585 for a double, 650 for 5 singles, and then 515 for 10. After that, it was on to leg extensions, 3 sets of 20 reps, leg curls, 2 sets of 12 reps, and then deadlift from below the knee to work on sticking points. 315 for 5, 405 for 2, 515 for a single, then 565 for 6 singles. On Wednesday and Thursday, he would rest. This was in no small part because of his 8-hour workday. On Friday, he would start with bench press, 135 for 20, 225 for 10, 315 for 5, 405 for 5, 515 for a single, then on to 560, 570 for 5 singles, 405 for 10, and 315 for 20. Seated military press, he would do 135 for 10, 225 for 5, 315 for a triple, 400 for a single, 315 for 5, and 225 for 8, and he would finish with dips, starting with his body weight, 3 sets of 5 reps, then 10 sets with 205 for 5 reps. On Saturday, he would start with lockout squats, above parallel, squat down, and he would stop on the pins. This would be a dead stop with no bounce at the bottom. 135 for 10, 225 for 5, 315 for a triple, 405 for a double, 515 for a single, 585 for a single, 650 for a single, and then 750 for 5 singles, and he would finish with a full squat, 405 for 5 with a pause at the bottom. These lockouts, as he described, were mainly for the feel of handling heavy weight. Leg extensions would be 3 sets of 20 reps, leg curls, 2 sets of 12 reps, and then he would finish with some neck work and what he called bodybuilding movements. For more of these old stories, the history of physical culture, click subscribe.